And Good Morning Truckee, of course, is presented by the Truckee Chamber of Commerce. I'm Jim Porter. I just got back trying to rob a bank this morning, but they were closed, so I'll go back later. I'm a member of the Planning Committee and your host today, for better or for worse. If you're familiar with the town hall and the chambers, I'm in Dan Wilkins' seat, and the esteemed Dan Wilkins. I'm not as funny or as handsome or as talented as he is, but I'm sitting in his seat feeling smug about that. So we're here again for our virtual program. I think this is our third Lynn. I have Lynn Sanders to my left and the great Teddy Owens out there also to my left. We're coming with live stream, Channel 18, and Zoom. So I know all of you know at least 1/3 of that because you're here. You all look great, by the way. And so let's go through quickly. We have a big program, so we'll go fast, and I'll go through our sponsors. And we're always open for more sponsors. Like everybody else, we need money. So, Tall Forest Health System, Porter Simon Dixon Realty, Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation, NV5, Auerbach Engineering, Tahoe Truckee Media, Sierra Sun Moonshine Inc., 101.5, Town of Truckee, and the Truckee Tahoe Airport District. And we have a representative here from the district that you're going to hear from later, the esteemed David Diamond. And the committee that organizes this, and yes, we do organize it. It may not seem like it, but occasionally we work at it. And that's Lynn Saunders and the chamber staff of Ruth Garrissey and Melissa Williams over here. So, and Kelly Cutler from CAT, Mayumi from Moonshine Inc., Ernie Grossman, Gerald Herrick from the fire department, Tony Lashbrook, Deb Ryan from the Community Foundation, and Teddy Owens from the Tall Forest Health System. So we have a good program. Let's get going now. The first three speakers are COVID related, so you can text your questions. You're probably already doing that now. It should be on your screen, but it's 530-412-3719. And if you're watching on Zoom, of course you can do that with chat. I can't do it, but somebody else can do it. And our first speaker is Harry Weiss, and I see him on the screen. I hope you do as well. And he's the chief executive officer of the hospital, and Judy Newland, sitting there somewhere near him or in the vicinity, they're online, is the chief operating officer of Tall Forest Health System. So we know vaccines are on your mind, so we're going to hear a little bit how we're doing up here in the hinterlands, and what we all want to know is how do we get on that schedule to get that shot or those shots. So Harry and Judy, take it away.
Good morning, everyone. Happy to spend a few moments with you, and just happy to share that Judy Newland has done a great job now for about 11 months roughly during this pandemic, heading up all of our very detailed activities with 3 counties. If we can we bring up the slideshow so that we can just go through some slides real quickly. While that's coming up, I'll go to my slide on just the number of tests that we've seen so far in our 3-county area, Nevada, Placer, and Western Washoe County. We have 2,143 positive lab tests. What's remarkable about this is I can't see the slides, so I'm on slide number 2. We have 2,143 lab tests, and that's up approximately 500 from a month ago. So you figure in just 1 month to be up 500, and we've been about this for 11 months. I think that's still remarkable. If we go to the next slide, hopefully the audience can see it. I can't, which is it says COVID-19 data. It's a graph. It shows we've had 3 surges so far, and we're just really pleased that the 3rd surge, which started about 2 weeks after Veterans Day, has really tuckered out. And hopefully we won't have a fourth surge after the Super Bowl weekend that just occurred. So our team's been doing an amazing job on that. And then I'll turn it over to Judy and really let her talk briefly about vaccines, how many we've done, the future and so forth. And my just headline statement would be, community, please be patient with us because the quantity of vaccines is very scarce. We would love to be doing high volume every day, but we just don't have the shots available. So please be patient. Judy, if you could kind of take it over.
Thank you, Harry. So I just really wanted to begin with, so everybody understands the process from the federal level down for the disbursement of vaccinations. So just remember that it starts at the federal level. They have the vaccines, and then they disperse based on population by state. So based on the state you're in, depends on how many vaccines you get. Then when you get to the state, what the states do is then they disperse or allot vaccines based on county population. So if you're in a higher county population, you get more vaccines. If you're in a smaller county population, you get less vaccines. So what that says to us all is in Nevada County, we're a rural county. So Nevada County actually does not get a lot of vaccines. I will let you know. There were times where they were only getting 100 a week. So that makes it challenging when you live in a county, again, that doesn't get a lot of allotment. I just want you to know for the health system, we actually are working with 2 states, state of Nevada and state of California, and 3 counties when it comes to vaccination allotments. So we work with Washoe County for Incline Village Community Hospital, and then we are actually working also for Placer County and Nevada County for Tahoe Forest Hospital District here in Truckee. And I want to mention that each county has what they call vaccine providers. They call them providers. I like to use the word vaccine providers so we don't get confused by physician clinics. So an example, in Incline Village, they actually have 3 vaccine providers that give vaccines. They have O'Reilly's, they have the fire department, Incline Village Community Hospital. In Placer County, on the east side, they have 2 providers. One is the Kings Beach Safeway Pharmacy, and the other is the Nevada Placer County Tahoe Forest Hospital Clinic that's currently at Sierra College. And then in Truckee here, there's actually 3 providers. So there's the Truckee Safeway, there is the clinic again at Sierra College, and then there is the county clinic. And it's really important to understand that the counties determine who you vaccinate. So I like to use Incline as a great example because they have 3 providers. So Incline Village Community Hospital vaccinates 2 segments. One was the employees and the other is only over age 70. That's all they do. The fire department originally was only able to vaccinate educators. We actually tried to give them some 70 and olds and the county said no. So I think it's really important to understand that the vaccine providers the counties have oversight of all of the vaccine providers and who they vaccinate. So I think everybody's really interested then again in what's happening in Truckee and on the east side. So under Harry's leadership, we recognize that the counties have limited resources for vaccination on the east side. And so we worked with the counties in order to support providing a vaccination location here on the east side that can support both the Placer County East and Nevada County East. And it was kind of Sierra College to allow us to use that location for vaccination. And so currently we're doing vaccination clinics up there, but again, under the support and under the direction of the counties. We began that vaccination in January. To date, I believe we have vaccinated about 820 individuals, plus approximately 665 teachers that we were able to vaccinate last Wednesday at the Truckee Tahoe Unified School District Administrative Gym area. So that was very successful. You know, we have worked really hard. We have a great vaccine clinic. We are able to, if we could actually we could do 200 vaccines a day. The challenge we are having, which I think you've seen federally, is the allotment. We actually don't know we only know week to week what allotment we have. So we are actually waiting to find out what allotment we have for next week to determine if we're able to open up for vaccines. So that is very challenging. And I think for the counties, it's also very challenging. The other thing I want everyone to understand is the state makes decisions again on that tier system. And the counties let us know how to vaccinate. And I know it's confusing, and I know it can be frustrating, not only for you, but, challenging for all of us. Because at one point, I think in January, we did 65 and older, and then 2 weeks later, we're told, oh no, only 75 and older. And by the way, we've now been told back to 65 and older, we can vaccinate. I will let you know at the Sierra College, we only can vaccinate phase 1A, which are the healthcare workers and those people that go into the home, and now 65 and older. I know in the California system under phase 1B, there's a list, but that's all currently we are vaccinating. And again, we are just waiting to hear what our allotment is. Unfortunately, again, there is a limit on the vaccination doses, especially in the counties. If we could, are prepared to vaccinate over 1,000 a week, but unfortunately, we don't have that vaccine, nor does Nevada County, nor does Placer County have that vaccines to give us. So that is really a quick update. So the question I know is always, how do we know when it's time, if we're over 65, when there's availability? We are working with Nevada and Placer County again for that notification. So if you go to their websites, or if you go to the Tahoe Forest Hospital District website, you can sign up for what are called their 211 alerts. And that's on your, it alerts to your phone. And when there are appointments, the counties will notify you via text that there are appointments available. And so that's currently the process the counties have for notification, I think, for appointments within their counties. So I hope that was helpful. Thank you.
That was very helpful, Judy and Harry, and we are going to take questions now for the two of you because I know you have to get back to work and do your good job. Ted, do you have any, and Lynn?
I think we'll start with Lynn. You have one in the chat.
Yes, I do. And Judy, you did somewhat cover this. Who runs the appointment system in Truckee? When will Truckee Safeway get vaccine, and how will those appointments be made?
So the appointment system in Truckee is actually, we currently use what's called PrepMod. It's actually used throughout California. Placer County actually lets us tag onto theirs. It's a appointment where you can go in electronically. And those appointments are set up based on the doses we know we will have. So if we know we're going to have, maybe 600 doses next week, we'll make 600 appointments. If we're only going to have 100 doses, we'll only make 100 appointments. And then we notify the county, and then they let everybody know when those are available. For Safeway, my understanding is Safeway is notifying people that have their prescriptions. They're doing the notifications to their, I think, people that get prescriptions there. One of the things we chose to do at the Tahoe Forest Clinic at the Sierra College is we have chosen to do patient and non-patients. So we have really worked with the counties to open that to everybody, but I think some of the pharmacies might work at a little bit different. But I think the best thing is just to reach out to that pharmacy and see what their process is.
Thanks, Judy. Ted?
Yes, Judy, Harry, the question, what if I don't have a computer? How do I make an appointment?
Yeah, so if you don't have a computer, currently the process is to dial 211 in each of the counties, and we're working with them to get the names of people that don't have access to a computer. We know that's a challenge, and we're concerned about that. So that's currently the process. And then we'd like to be able to get those names.
Thank you, Judy. And because we believe that the slide presentation may have shown to some of our audience, but not all, they can also call 211 to get the text alert identifier also as well, correct?
I believe so, but I don't know that exactly, but I believe they can. The 211 is actually a great program in which they're helping a lot of counties facilitate all of the calls and answer questions. And I do know that they also get backlogged on calls, but they're there to assist.
Okay, this question, I think, Judy, you
Okay,
answered.
can I interrupt? What, can you
course.
clarify then, who do you call, how do you get on the list in Nevada County and Placer County?
Well, the counties have different processes. So for Nevada County, currently, if you think you are phase 1A, there's a form you can complete. Neither of the counties have a process for anybody over 65 to sign up and be on a waiting list. If you're in Washoe County, there is a 65 and older wait list that you can sign up for, but currently neither of the counties have that process in place.
I assume somebody's working on that apparent flaw that.
Well, I think that, again, I will just say that in support of the counties, they are working as fast as they can to make a process work. I believe Placer County, the 211, actually will connect them to a pharmacy to help register. They're all resource limited. And when I just answer the questions, it's not that I don't support the counties. I think they work really hard, and no one's been through a pandemic before. No one's been through this process before. And so they're always looking for ways to make sure that they can communicate and get the information they need.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to be so critical. I know it's complicated and difficult. It
is very complicated. It is very difficult.
And people are anxious. Lynn has a question.
Actually, I have a little bit more clarification from Harry. You can click on tfhd.com and then click on COVID-19 and see if appointments are available and self-schedule your appointment if you fit in the age group. You can call Safeway or go to the website of Safeway, so see if they have appointments. Call 211 and those folks can notify the health system of people who can't schedule their vaccines. And I do have one more question that's come in here. What day of the week does the county notify the health system of the amount of vaccines they will get the next week?
It has changed. It's changed. There is no consistent day. There is no consistent day. I do have a meeting every Friday with the counties, but there is no consistent day. Sometimes we hear on Monday. Sometimes we hear on Tuesday. So for us, there's no consistency. We like to see that the order's on the way, even though people tell us, and the counties have been great, by the way. The counties have been really good about working with us, but there is no consistent day.
All right. I think that's it. Judy and Harry, thank you very much, and thanks for staying in the trenches for us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And I do want to clarify on really being able to call and make sure that the counties on 211, that if you call, they will take your name and number. I need to make sure I clarify that so I don't set them up with 2,000 calls and they're saying we're not prepared for that. So, Jim, I don't know how to get back to make sure that that's that absolute accurate information. So I just want to make sure that's so that they don't get these calls and they're not prepared if they don't have a process.
Maybe communicate to Ted.
Okay, I'll communicate to Ted.
Put my cell number out there, Jim.
That's a weak link in our system, but what are we going to do? So, well, thank you again very much. And Ted is my punching bag as usual.
Okay, I punch back.
And I have the mic right now. So our next speaker is Kristen York, my immediate neighbor and good friend. Kristen's with the Sierra Business Council Small Business Development Center, and she's the expert on business resources and assistance world. She knows what's going on. She knows where those programs are, including, and she'll give us an update on the PPP program, and you have to listen up to find out what that is and other possibilities. In the business world, Kristen York. And by the way, Kristen's also on our rec committee, has been for a long time, and is a fantastic member of our community. Kristen.
Thanks, Jim. Good morning. Appreciate it. Yes, I'm Kristen York with Sierra Business Council, and we run the Small Business Development Center, which I can say would be not nearly as amazing if it not for my two right hands, really, Jess Carr and Leslie Williams. So today I'm going to talk about some federal resources, state resources, and then local resources for small businesses with COVID. And can they see the slides, maybe? Okay, well, there are slides, which I will give to Lynn, in case you can't see them. But there we go. First of all, federal resources. The Paycheck Protection Program, or PPP, has reopened, and this is a new program, very different from the first round. So there is a first draw and a second draw. If you did not receive a loan during the first PPP, you actually have priority, and it is now open to 506c nonprofits, 501c6 nonprofits. The second draw is for a business. Perhaps you received a loan and you paid it off entirely. You are eligible for a second loan, and there are some provisions. You must have been in operation on or before February 15th, 2020, so pre-COVID. The loan amounts are calculated at 2.5 times your average monthly payroll. Unless you are in a restaurant or in hospitality, you are eligible for 3.5 times average monthly payroll. The 60-40 rule still applies. That's a hard cliff. What that means is that in order for this loan to be forgivable, you must spend 60% on payroll. If you don't, it's a loan. It's not forgivable. There are additional expense categories that are eligible, including you can purchase software for your business, do a technology upgrade, that type of thing. And the application deadline is at the end of March of this year. Some other changes: the new maximum loan amount is $2 million, which used to be 10. Your company must have 300 or fewer employees at your location, and you actually have to show economic hardship. You have to show a 25% reduction in gross revenues quarter over quarter from 2019 to 2020. I won't get into that now, but you're welcome to call so we can help you figure that out. There's a reversal of the IRS ruling, which says this is important. Even if you had won the first round, your qualified expenses are now tax deductible. So this is kind of amazing. The government is giving you a forgivable loan, and the expenses you charge against it are deductible from your taxes. I won't call that double dipping, but kind of is. Your EIDL loan advance is now not deducted as a forgivable PPP amount. So those of you that received one in the first round and then all of a sudden you saw that on your PPP will know what I'm talking about. But this is a big deal. It's up to $10,000 that now is a grant, essentially. Your best bet, if you are interested in the PPP, which closes at the end of next month, is to go to your banker or to call us at the SBDC. If your bank is not offering the PPP, these are all underwritten through the bank, we have a lender match program that we can do. There's many online lenders that are fast streamlining these loans. Now, the second federal program I want to tell you about is the EIDL loan, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. This has reopened. The deadline is the end of the year, December 31st, 2021. This is a working capital loan, so you can do a number of things, buy inventory, etc. This loan is not through your bank. It comes directly through the SBA. It's at 3.75% interest. Unless you're a nonprofit, then it's 2.75. For that, you want to apply directly through the SBA, and we can help you do that too. Finally, for federal, the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant, which sounds amazing, but you cannot get both a PPP, a new PPP, and this grant. So you have to choose. One of the things that is most annoying about this is that you have to have fixed seating in a venue. So anybody who has movable seating is not eligible. That takes out a lot of venues. The application is not open yet, but stay tuned if you think you're eligible. Now, for the state of California, the California Relief Grant just closed last night. That was the second round, so $475 million infused into businesses and loans from $5,000 to $25,000. For anybody who tried to apply, you know as well as I do, this was a bit of a disaster and very difficult. The numbers after the first round, we know that only 5% of the applicants received grants. It's very difficult to get these grants. So the first round had 350 applications, about 20,000 loans. So don't feel bad if you didn't get one. That is closed. However, there is a California loan program and a sales tax program, which we can talk with you about. Now, local resources, and I am actually a huge fan of all the local resources that we have had available. That includes the Nevada County Relief Fund that had about a 40% hit rate on applications. The Placer County Shares, most recently, in fact, checks go out this week, is the rent relief program that was administered by NLRTA. 100% of the eligible applicants will receive some funding. So these local programs are super important. The one that is still open is the Resilience Fund. The Resilience Fund is funded privately. It's a community-funded loan program. Loans are up to $25,000 at 2%. That is great price on money. It's a 5-year term, a 6-month deferral, so you make no payments for 6 months. This fund is still open. It's still accepting investments and donations. And in addition, and this is something that we have started lately, is there are a number of people who realize all of the small businesses that have been shut out of the federal and the state programs. If you feel strongly about your local community and you want to donate to local businesses, you have the ability to donate through this fund. It's actually through Sierra Business Council. And you can specify where you want that money to go to a private business. You do receive a tax-deductible donation. We do not take a processing fee. So if that's something you feel strongly about for a business that has been closed or forced into closure, please contact us, which is our final slide, which is things to look forward to. Things to look forward to are the current additional stimulus bill may result in additional funds to the counties, which would be more regional grants. So keep your ear to the ground. That's why that's important. That both Placer and Nevada have been very generous with that, as the town of Truckee. State of California expanded aid. This relief grant we just went through, there's acknowledgement that demand is way higher than supply, so there may be more money coming. And then every small business is eligible for no-cost business consulting. That's through the Sierra Business Council. You can see our link on the screen, and Lynn will post these as well. You can email us info@sierrasbdc.org. And finally, we have a whole slew of free workshops available to you as well. So thank you, and let's get through this.
All right, let's hold questions for now, and then we'll take questions for Chris after our next speaker. And at some point, tell us how we communicate with you and your team to get onto these programs. Can you tell us that?
Yep, sure. The email address info@sierrasbdc.com is great because 4 of us check that. You can also call our office, 530-582-4800. We're on the phone a lot, but that works. We'll get to you. Thanks.
Great. All right. Thanks, Chris, and good work, team. So, and our last speaker in our rapid-fire COVID updates is Valerie Simpson of the Truckee Unified School District, and she's going to tell us, as we partially already know, what a great job our teachers are doing in virtual teaching, and also, I guess, now in the classroom. Valerie's not with us, but she's out there somewhere on your screen. So. Val Simpson, go ahead, take it away.
Hi, thank you. Hi, yes, thank you for that lovely introduction. And I really appreciate the opportunity to speak a little bit about a day in the life of our teachers. And I did reach out and, get some information about, how things have been going out there. And so to take you back in time a little bit, want to put it all in the context of almost a year ago, we closed our school buildings, and that's just like really hard to believe. And our school district, TTUSD, did an amazing job of pivoting within 2 days to distance learning for our students. And I want to acknowledge the dedication of our staff, our technology infrastructure, the essential professional development that all of our staff went through in those 2 days. And then lastly, of course, our parents and our community. We could not have done that. Truly heroic efforts to make that happen. And I'm very proud to say that we have come a long way since then, and that our teaching and learning under distance learning and hybrid have just continued to improve exponentially. And so this school year, that we started out in distance learning and got an opportunity to pivot into hybrid for two or 3 weeks. And it was so good to see the kids. It was a morale booster. And as you know, we then went back to distance learning, and now we are back in hybrid. So super excited about that. And it's just been really great getting to see people in person. And when I spoke to the teachers and got some feedback, some of the common characteristics that I like to hold up. When I speak about teachers, I'm also speaking actually about all of our staff at the school sites. We all are, classified or certificated, are considered teachers. And I mentioned already the extreme dedication. Our teachers have perseverance, amazing perseverance to get it right for kids and for families. Creativity, crazy amounts of creativity and flexibility and responsiveness to the needs of the students, as well as the needs of our families. That has been a huge bonus in this COVID. The silver lining, it has been the relationships with the families that have deepened and strengthened. And as well as the I'm going to say the responsiveness to support each other. I think all of us know that we as a community and as a nation, recognize that that's a piece to all of this, is supporting each other just as people. So the day in the life of a teacher, it's amazing how similar it is to a regular school day. That was my big takeaway. And although it depends a little bit on the grade, of course, between elementary, middle, and high school, and even preschool, right? We have preschool too, and adult education for that matter. The commonness across all of that is that the importance placed on supporting the social emotional and really checking in with our students to find out how they're doing. So the check-in could be, a question and the students, respond in a chat, or maybe they're responding verbally. It really just depends. The day starts with an overview of what we're going to do today, our learning goals, our objectives. Many of the teachers said that before they logged into the technology with their class in the morning, they would either exercise, sit down for a cup of tea, a few minutes of quiet meditation and mindfulness, just so they could, be ready for their students. And that often started as early as 7 a.m. We all know that our COVID situation has created an opportunity. I'm going to say an opportunity to work from home, which it has been, that's been an interesting challenge for all of us because of the blend of the work and home life. And many of our teachers have children who are students. And so juggling I need to get my children settled before I log on for the students was a part of what the teachers shared with me. Our two platforms that we use, Google Classroom and Seesaw, are the two main platforms that we use for our students. So teachers would get checked in at that time, again, reviewing the overarching activities for the day. Instruction throughout the day really varies. It varies between the needs, what the needs are of the students. It could be one-on-one instruction, it could be small group instruction, it could be whole group. Direct instruction. There's also opportunities for students to have independent practice, just like you would see in a classroom. A teacher presents a lesson, and then there's opportunity for independent or guided practice, and the student may log off, but the teacher's still available on the Google Classroom space for questions and answers. Teachers are checking in with students. Just if you could imagine that in a classroom, it's just on this platform. And there's recess. We have recesses for elementaries. There are breaks built in. There are lunch times built in, just like you would see on a normal school campus during the distance learning. And then office hours would be happening. Librarians are visiting classrooms still. So that's like the distance learning. Now imagine hybrid. So now we've flipped into hybrid, and we have that same activity happening in person. At our middle schools and our high schools, we actually have what we call synchronous. And so while the teachers are teaching the in-person students, they are actually also teaching the at-home students. And that has been super fun to watch with the juggle of the technology. The teachers are so calm. there's a little glitch. It's like, no problem. We're just going to kind of work through it or go to plan B. Our classrooms, I hope you've seen the pictures for the students that are in class. It is amazing how safe the schools really feel. There's lots of space between the students, that kids are so happy to be at school, and the teachers are happy as well. And so I want to just share just a couple of highlights real quick. Our Teachers' Day, of course, doesn't end when the students go home or when they log off. They are working well beyond 5 o'clock, grading papers, following up on emails. As I mentioned earlier on, the big successes and takeaways for us in this have been, and things that we want to carry forward and continue, are the ways that we have deepened our relationship with the families and also with the community. There's been a lot of amazing partnerships that have just expanded because of who we are in the Tahoe Truckee region. And amazing lessons that the teachers have created. There's been lots of choice infused into lessons. Engagement has been a key piece of keeping students with us during distance and hybrid. And those lessons have just gotten amazing. Of course, there's things that have been hard. Absolutely. However, we continue to stay together and move forward. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Valerie. And I must say, yesterday, my lovely wife, Marianne, and I were downtown having lunch at Casa Baeza. Good food, fast service, by the way, after we were skiing at Tahoe Donner Cross Country. Great snow, by the way. Good service. Lynn, how am I doing? And I saw 3 and maybe even 4 school buses go by, and I thought, this put a smile on my face. I said, okay, we're getting through this. So we have time for maybe a question or two of either Kristen York or Valerie Simpson. Ted, do we have anybody?
Actually, Harry, I'd like to, sorry.
Back to Harry?
I think I'm at work. No, I have a clarification from Judy, just so people are clear, that if you do dial 211, they will be able to answer your questions and help you navigate. They're not taking or making lists that you can get on. The counties are working to identify individuals who need assistance, so please do call 211 and they will help navigate. Thank you. And then Lynn may have some questions.
No questions?
Yes. Well, I had several on the relief fund. On the California Relief Fund, we have a question. You indicated, Kristen, that 5% of applicants got loans. What happens to the balance of those funds not granted?
Oh, so for the California Relief Fund, for the first round, $237 million was granted. That was only 5% of the applications. Then it rolled over to the second round. Anybody who did not receive a grant automatically rolled into round 2, which closed last night. So, just my quick math, we may end up with only about 10 to 12% of all applicants receiving money. What happens to those? They will not receive money, which means they need to look to these other programs. PPP, take that seriously. Get your application in. You can deny it if you don't need it. Look locally. Cross your fingers that this stimulus does deliver additional funds to our local governments, who have been more than generous and in my opinion, much more impactful for businesses. And then there's the private fund, the Resilience Fund.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And then, no more questions? I rest.
Thank you very much, Valerie and Kristen. Thank you very much. Okay, our next speaker. So we go on to Mr. Cool, David Diamond. Even the name says
You're
Hollywood.
talking about me, Jim.
And I just wish I was as cool as he is. But Ted, I'm not, am I?
No, neither of us are, Jim.
Neither of us are, yeah. So you probably voted for David. He was just elected high vote getter, by the way, to the airport district. And he's here to talk about a program called Pilots in Pause, PAWS. David.
Thanks, Jim. Yeah, thanks for that introduction. I'm going to hear from many people about that now. My name is David Diamond, and I fly rescue missions for Pilots and Paws, which is one of the animal rescue networks that are out there. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about how that process works and tell some stories about some of the rescues that I've done that have been kind of fun, and then give you some information about how you can get involved if you would like to get involved. The point that I want to make is it's not all about Pilots and Paws. Pilots and Paws is an organization of volunteer pilots across the country who donate our time and our airplanes to move animals around, but it's only one transport organization. These networks are all over. They're in the towns you live in. You'd be surprised at how many are actually there. I've got some logos here from Animal Rescue Relay, which is in Reno, Cleft Pup Brigade, which is down in Auburn, and Shepherds Without Borders, which is in Sacramento. There's also a number of other rescue organizations in the area that you can find out about and help. How it works is basically a need for a rescue is recognized, and this could happen from just basically anybody. Let's go back to this one slide here, sorry. It could be somebody who's looking on a website and sees some photographs of some pups or cats or something that they would like. And then a transport coordinator gets involved to try to organize the logistics of getting the animal from point A to point B. A ride is requested for Pilots and Paws for us on our forum, which I'll show you in just 1 second. And then the route negotiation happens. This is where a pilot will go on and say, I can take that animal that's coming from Riverside, California. I can fly the animal to Fresno if somebody else can pick up the animal in Fresno and fly the animal from Fresno to wherever. This negotiation goes back and forth, and really, if there's one part of the process that I wish we could streamline, it would definitely be this part of the process. And I think other pilots would agree with me on that. And then we get the planning all done, and then we finally do the rescue and get the pup or the cats or whatever happens to be where it needs to go. This is an example of our ride board. Here, this is what pilots see when they log in. They see these trip routes, and we just kind of go, and you can click on a route and see the details of the route, and if it's in your area, kind of decide if that's going to be something that's going to work for you, and then leave a post there saying, who you are and that you can take part of that route. And that's how the logistics of this thing all gets going. It's not super high tech, I have to admit that. It's kind of circa 1990s technology that we're using on here to kind of move these animals around. But I want to tell you a little some of the stories of animals that I've helped work with. This was Miss Ruthie. She was an abandoned pup who was covered in mange, which mange really doesn't help a pup's prospects of getting rescued or adopted. So there's Crunchy Dog Rescue down in Placerville, who specializes in homeless animals with mange, getting them the treatment they need and fostering them until they're in good shape for an actual adoption. And this is the photo on the left is at the beginning of this route where I picked up Miss Ruthie in Placerville, flew her to my home in Truckee. This was actually kind of a short route for me. She had to stay with me for a few days in Truckee before she was ready for the rest of her transport, which started out of Reno and ended up in Colorado Springs. And you can see the young boy that is now Miss Ruthie's best friend here. This was a really great transport because he was super happy to have his new pup, and this was a few years back, and they're still best buddies, and I still get updates from them, photographs of the two of them together. So this one turned out really, really nicely. Katie here came from Salt Lake City, and she was on her way to Redding. You might recognize Mary Hetherington in that photograph there on the left. She did this rescue with me. A team of pilots flew Katie to Winnemucca, where Mary and I flew to pick her up. and get her to Redding. And what was really nice about this rescue is that Katie was 14 years old. Her previous guardian died, which left her without a home. And at 14 years old, you hate to say it, but this makes a pet a lot less adoptable because the animal is pretty close to the end of its life. Coincidentally, we had a man in Redding, 93-year-old war veteran, who had just lost his Springer Spaniel, and not long before that had lost his wife. So he was not wanting to be without a pup, but he did not want to get a young puppy. He wanted to get a dog that was closer in the same life cycle as him. So he found Katie online, and we flew Katie out. And if you know Mary, you can talk to Mary about this, because I know this rescue touched her too. This was a real hardened guy, the not many words and kind of, the type. And when Katie went up and he saw Katie, he cried. And that really touched us all, and he told us about how he was going to take her. He apparently continues to kayak and fish, and he was going to take Katie out on these runs with him, and that he really lit up, just like, he was a 10-year-old boy getting a dog. He was super, super excited, so that was a great one too. And then the next one here is, this is Lucas. Lucas had a fractured back leg when he was dumped and found by a riverside shelter. We flew him kind of in an emergency situation to get him to Boise, Idaho for orthopedic surgery. We had a surgeon there who was willing to do the surgery for him. And so we flew him from Southern California up to Fresno. I picked Lucas up in Fresno there and brought him to my home in Truckee. The weather went bad, so he stayed with me in Truckee for about 4 days. He was a super, super wonderful animal, despite the fact that he was an unaltered male German Shepherd with a fractured back leg. He was never hostile. He was never aggressive. He kind of had a sense that we were trying to help him out. And then that last picture, second to last picture, is me saying goodbye to him in Boise, which was a really sad moment. That last picture was a happy moment where he came out of his surgery. And this is Lucas doing today. He's doing great. He's living out there. He's got a great place out there. And about 6 months after that, I got to fly out to Boise on another rescue and went and actually visited Lucas. And I was thrilled that he remembered me when I got there. He was very loving. So the last slide here is just some information of the ways that you can get involved if you want to get involved and you don't fly an airplane. First of all, you can just search for animal rescue or transport or something like that in your area, and you'll find these rescue organizations. They need ground-based transport. That's people driving in short distances. They need temporary foster overnight, kind of, or maybe a weekend, that sort of thing. You can share their social media posts, which helps raise the visibility for the animals that need homes. You can lend them financial support if you can afford that. They're always in need of money. And then finally, the adopt, don't shop mantra, which is if you are looking for an animal, check out these shelters, check out these rescue organizations before you buy. And if you do buy, please consider donating some time to the animals that were less fortunate than the one you actually got. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Cool, next time we'll give a little warning to get the tissues out before you make your presentation.
Yeah, Jim, I was going to say thanks for letting us COVID people go before the puppies. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, well done, and thanks for all you do in our community, including flying those little pups. I think Miss Katie is my favorite. So, Erin Ellis, fortunate to have Erin here in the studio. She's from the Humane Society of Truckee. She's going to tell us how the COVID has affected adoptions and the services the Humane Society is offering. And there's another cool name right there, Erin Ellis. I love it. Thank you, and welcome.
No one's ever said that about my name before. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for having us here today. Good morning. Stephanie Nisler does send her apologies for not being here today. So you've got me. I'm going to give you the 2020 COVID update for the Humane Society of Truckee Tahoe. So to get started, I'm going to go over our shelter operations and the COVID impacts that we had with that, and some of the impacts we were still feeling. So we closed the shelter mid-March when that pandemic really kind of took a foothold in our community here, and that stay-at-home order was put in place. So we closed to members of the public, and we closed our volunteer shelter programs. At that same time, we placed all of our shelter pets into foster homes if they hadn't been adopted. And then from there, very quickly, we figured out a way to implement a virtual adoption process with a curbside pet pickup. And then once that regional stay-at-home order was lifted, we were able to reopen to the public, but in a different way. So by appointment only, and that was in June. And that's when we started doing adoptions again, one appointment at a time. We're still continuing to operate that way right now. And the great thing about that is we've been able to maintain our adoption and our intake numbers by doing it in this different format. So it really has not hindered our ability to bring animals in and adopt them out. And then we're also continuing to house a majority of our animals in foster care until they're absolutely ready to be brought to the shelter for that appointment, and then we facilitate the adoption process there. So I know that there has been some talk about the adoption numbers that we've done, so I'm here to give you the real numbers. This is the actual number of animals that were adopted in 2020. Now, the demand for adoptable animals through HSTT has definitely risen, and we are adopting animals out faster. However, the fact of the matter is that we did about the same adoptions in 2020 as we did in 2019, and we were so pleased with that number because everything we were thrown through COVID and having to reroute everything we've ever done, we were still able to hit our target number with adoptions. So you can see the breakdown there. 347 dogs were adopted, 218 cats, and 5 small animals for a total of 570. So that's the number. Next, if you break that down by animal type, it's 61% were dogs, 38% were cats, and 1% were small animals. And then this graph really shows a good comparison between 2019 and 2020. So 2020 is the blue, 2019 is gray. So you can see that we started the year off really strong, great adoptions, and then you can see exactly where that stay-at-home order took effect and how our numbers did go down. Now, it didn't have anything to do with the fact that we weren't doing adoptions. As I've mentioned, that's what we were doing, but we had less intake of animals coming in, less need, so less adoptable pets during that time. And then when June hit, and you can see where that stay-at-home order was removed, our adoptions numbers went back up, and then the rest of the year kind of ebbed and flowed. Some months were higher in 2019, and some were higher in 2020. We did feel a lot of impacts, COVID related to our programs and services. We really, I think if there's one thing we learned with COVID, it's how to be extremely creative and how to pivot very quickly. And so with some of our programs and services, we just saw a huge spike in increase. Others we had to place on hold, like our shelter volunteer programs. And then with others, we just had to use that creativity to figure out how to continue to operate them. So in terms of our foster program, this is where we did see an increase, and this was great. This was our community rallying behind us. So if you look at that number, 179 new fosters, they were trained through our virtual foster training program. This was from the date of COVID closure. So from mid-March to the end of 2020, we had that many people step forward and go through our training to become a new foster. And right below that is how many animals were placed into foster during that same time, which was 320. Humane education. This is one area we had to get extremely creative with because all the programs that we operate under this title are in person. And so what we did here is we came up with a virtual weekly humane education lesson plan program, and we sent those lesson plan programs out to teachers 1st through 4th grade in the communities that we serve, which is Truckee, North Lake Tahoe, South Lake Tahoe, and Sierra County. That was from April to June, and the teachers could then decide if they wanted to add those lesson plans into their curriculum, which many did. We also started a pet loss support group. This was for people that were going through the grief and loss of a pet. I can't imagine 2020 just being as hard as it is and then losing a pet on top of that. So we started this support loss program for people that were feeling that grief and needed some sort of support, or if they were feeling the anticipation of losing a pet soon. These meetings you are available to come whenever you'd like. They're the first and third Wednesday of each month from 7 to 8:30, and they're open to anyone. So it's not like it's a 4-week program that you have to sign up for. You just have to RSVP because we limit it to 7 participants so that everyone has a moment to share. And if you'd like to get involved with that, or you know someone that needs this support, you can RSVP via our website. Pet-assisted therapy. So just like our humane education program, all the programs that fall under this title are very much in person as well. So again, this took a little bit of creativity for us, and we were able to make that work with our Rough Reading program, which is a program designed to help students that have a difficulty with reading one-on-one with pets involved. So they're reading their books to the pets. And we figured out a way to do this virtually with the schools and with Nevada County Library. And we're hoping to continue to broaden this program this year and onward. And then lastly here, a pet-friendly housing project. We all know that this eviction moratorium is set to end this year. And so as an organization, we really want to make sure that we are here and ready with resources and support for our community with pet-friendly housing options. Now, this next slide describes our community pet care assistance programs. We have 2 programs here that fall under this category. The first is our community spay-neuter program. The second is our medical assistance program. Both are income qualification programs. And so for our community spay-neuter program, we were able to facilitate 300 surgeries, saving the community over $80,000. And we really formalized this next program, our medical assistance program, and we helped 16 clients with unexpected medical expenses, saving or giving out grants that totaled over $2,700. Each grant was an average of about $170. And then the last and final program is our Community Pet Food Pantry program. We've had this program for many, many years, but we have never seen the rate of need with a program before like this. And this was one program, the moment we closed, we knew that we had to have available resources ready to help our community. So that need really increased right when that stay-at-home order took effect, end of March, early April. And that is when we really started to mobilize our resources. So we have accessible resources at the shelter 7 days a week. Our front vestibule has all of that food available for community members to come and grab if they need it or if they know someone in need. But also if you want to drop food off, unopened, unexpired pet food can be dropped off, and we'll facilitate the distribution of that. We also have our South Lake office that's open 5 days a week for the same purpose, drop off or pick up of food. On top of that, in 2020, we knew that we had to mobilize even more and get distribution to different areas so that people had more accessible resources available to them. So we set up distribution partnerships in different areas in Truckee, North Lake Tahoe, Sierra County, and South Lake Tahoe. So in Truckee, we have a great relationship with the Boys and Girls Club, so we mobilize distributions with where they were located. At Truckee Elementary, their North Lake Tahoe location, and at Incline Elementary, as well as the Truckee Senior Apartments, the Donner Creek Mobile Home Park, and National Mobile Home Park. In Sierra County, we set up distribution sites at the Loyalton Senior Center and Sierra County Social Services. And South Lake Tahoe, we had 5 locations: Bread and Broth, Boys and Girls Club, the Phoenix Food Pantry, Tahoe Giving Angels, and the Tahoe Coalition for the Homeless. On top of that, we knew that there were people, residents in our community that were homebound that also had pets that potentially needed our services and that pet food. So we set up a delivery option for them as well. And then my last and final slide here, our Pet Pantry program has always been stocked solely on donations that we receive from the community. But because of this unprecedented need in our community during that time, we as an organization needed to supplement the resources. So this graph here shows you what we supplemented as an organization. This doesn't even touch on what the community also donated. So we had given out over or just under 1,000 pounds of cat litter, over 2,500 pounds of cat food, and we provided over 8,000 pounds of dog food. So I know that this was very much a Reader's Digest version of 2020 COVID update for the shelter, and I know I was talking really fast, so if you missed anything or you want more information, visit our website. You can dig around there for more about our program services or get in contact with one of us on staff. It's at hstt.org, and I'm available for questions now too if anyone has any.
Great, Aaron. Thank you very much. You guys are killing it over there, and we appreciate it. Difficult times for everyone. One little question, and I think Teddy has a question for somebody.
It's not a question.
What's a small animal?
Oh, a small animal. So I almost said small mammal, or a smammal is what it is. So it's a domesticated small mammal. And when I do my trainings, I'm very clear to make sure that people know those aren't the bunnies in your front yard. These are the ones that come to you that we can adopt out, like hamsters, domesticated bunnies, mice, rats. We've had everything in between.
All right. That answers that question. We have a turtle, so I suppose we could...
That would work, Jim.
That would do it, wouldn't it? Yeah.
I don't have a question, but I do have one thing.
All right,
We
yes,
had
go ahead, Ted.
one communication directed to both of you, both David and to Aaron, and it just says, well, excuse me, thank you.
It said.
It said, thank you.
Very nice. Thank you.
Oh, that's it. Okay. All right. Sorry, Ted, to jump on you. All right. So thank you for our speakers. Thank you very, very much. And this is where we normally have stump speeches, community announcements. Not a lot going on in the community, but I think we're going to, in terms of meetings and all, but we're going to start gearing up on that, hopefully. And if you have any announcements, you send them to info@truckee.com, and Lynn will get them. And then we do have a couple of announcements, I think.
Okay. The Truckee Chamber is wanting to reach out to all of our new residents and help you make Truckee your base camp for a big life. So we're going to be doing a series of focus groups in March because we want to hear from you, what you want to know and how we can help. So if you're interested in learning more or participating, email lynn@truckee.com and we'll be in touch with the details. Second announcement is I am a Rotarian, and so I want to talk about the Rotary Crab and Pasta Feed. That's happening March 20th. You pick up your meal between 4 and 6, and then there's a virtual event at 7 p.m. So go to truckeerotary.org for that. And I believe we have Caroline from TTCF on the Zoom, so if you want to unmute yourself and do your stump speech.
Sure. Thanks, Lynn. Hi, everyone. I'm Caroline with the Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation, and I just wanted to mention a few upcoming events that we have. This Friday, we have our 4th workshop in a nonprofit strategy series. We'll be focused on marketing. That is open to all nonprofit professionals. And then next Friday, we'll be talking about board governance. So that one is open to board members as well. And then next Thursday, we have a Forest Futures Salon series. We'll be bringing in experts to talk about policy and what that means for California forests. So if you go to ttcf.net, you can register for any of those complimentary events, and then I can also drop the link in the chat. Thank you.
All right. Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation, a big player in our community. So no more announcements, okay? And so, again, you can send in any announcements to info@truckee.com, and we'll try and get them in on the Monday before the second Tuesday so we can get them out. Now, this is when we do our raffle and prizes. We have a remake of doing that, so it's no longer do I pull in a raffle and actually palm the real ticket and give it to my friends. So this is a little more honest, and so Lynn somehow does the same thing, but she can be trusted. So so the way you get into the raffle is you email us at info@truckee-tahoe. Tell us how you're watching with us on live stream, channel 18 or Zoom. Tell us how we're doing. Tell us what you'd like to see. If you have any speakers, we'd love to hear for speaker ideas or program ideas. And we're always looking for sponsors. If you want to get one of these cool gators, you go into the Welcome Center, the Chamber Center downtown, tell them you know me, and then run. No, tell them you know Lynn, and she said that she'd give you a free one, and it's an old historic Truckee style gator. Neck gator, is that, or nose gator, mouth gator? And I think that's it. So we'll see you second Tuesday next month, and thanks a lot. We appreciate you spending some time with us. And this is the hat. It's the Rainbow Bridge big truck hat that somebody's going to win if they can pry it off of my head. So we'll see you next month. Thank you.
info@truckee.com. Thanks.
Here we go.